A mysterious virus spawns out of nowhere and wipes out over 90% of humanity, leaving only children who are 13 or less alive. The surviving children are then enslaved and are taken captive by previously power-hungry vampires who offer to protect these children, but of course, they demand for blood donations by these children in exchange. Among these surviving children is a young boy named Yuhaya Kuya, who is also captured by the vampire kind and is made to live like livestock along with other kids, whom he considers as his family. This goes on for about 4 years. Ultimately, Yu starts to grow weary of the life he had been living in the vampire capital. Along with Yu, another orphan named Mika is also taken captive by the vampire kind. Mika is actually Yu's best friend. He offers a noble vampire named Ferret his blood in exchange for food or anything else he might desire. Then, that evening, the children eat curry made from the ingredients which Mika had acquired from the noble vampire. Yu begins to worry as Mika disappears suddenly, but Mika eventually returns that evening, obtaining a gun and a map in order to bring the orphans out of Sanguinum. When Yu, Mika and the orphans make a daring attempt at escape, they are trapped by Farid Bathory, who kills the orphans one by one. Farid mortally wounded Mika in the midst of his charge, but Yu manages to shoot Farid. Yu leaves Mika and the rest of his family behind and escapes outside of Sanguinum. 4 years later, after he escapes outside of Sanguinum, Yu joins the Japanese Imperial Demon Army, but is eager to become a member of the Moon Demon Company, their special vampire hunting force led by Gurun Ichinos. However, due to his reckless behavior, Yushido is advised by Shinoa Hiragi to make a friend in his school. Before the promotion can be granted, Yu befriends Yuso Itome, who is being bullied by 3 students named Satoshi, Yamanaka, Shishiro, and Yuji. Yu intends to avenge his sister Tomo Samidome, who was killed by a vampire joining the Moon Demon Company. Later, a school evacuation is initiated when a female vampire attacks the school. Going against orders, Yushido faces the female vampire alone. That dies until Gurren arrives to kill her instead, since Yu fulfilled his requirement. Nonetheless, Shinoa enlists both Yu and Yu into recruit training. Shinoa, who is aware that Yu desires more power, spars with him using her curse gear named Chikama Doji, a pen that transforms into a scythe in order to intimidate him. Later, Yukiro, Shinoa, and Yu learn from Yamanaka and Shishido that Yuji went underground into a forbidden chamber and never came back out. Shinoa says Yuji has been possessed by a demon which resides there. As Yu, Shinoa, and Yu enter the forbidden chamber, Yu confirms Yuji not only hopes to save him, but also make a contract with the demon and claim the axe as his curse gear. After managing to take the axe from Yuji, Yu has a hallucination of Mika, but breaks free before being tricked into desiring vengeance. After Yu wakes up, Shinoa congratulates him on his progress so far. Mika is shown to still be alive shortly after the deaths of the other orphans, thanks to Kroll, who decided to preserve his life by having him ingest her blood. Shinoa brings Yu and Yu to their new classroom for recruit training taught by Sari Hanayori, where Yu immediately develops rivalry against Shio Kimizuki. A week before an aptitude test, Guden warned Shio not to use his desire to find a cure for a virus that has infected his dying sister, Mirakimizuki, simply in order to acquire the strongest curse gear since its overwhelming power will consume him. On the day of the aptitude test, Yu and Shio are chained together as partners to battle against the giant demon puppets. The test is interrupted when Shio is informed to see Mi die at the hospital ward. Although their scores will be highly affected due to their leave of absence, Shio thanks Yu for convincing him to see Mirai. Cruel assembles her vampires together and declares war on the Japanese Imperial Demon Army due to their rise to power. Meanwhile, Gurren encounters Yu and approves his request of arranging a time for selecting a curse gear. Later, Yu ends up being the only student who failed the spellcraft test in his class. When Gurren arrives in the classroom, he uses his curse gear named Makaru Noyo, which takes the form of a katana to determine which of the students can withstand its demonic energy. Yu and Shio are the only students able to do so. Guden takes the 3 of them underground to a chamber to choose a curse gear for themselves. Despite knowing the risks, Yu and Shio each confront their respective demons in the embodiment of their loved ones in order to gain control of their desires. Both Yu and Shio manage to obtain their own curse gears, but Yu ends up possessed by his weapon and begins to attack. The 2, Yu and Shio, fend off the attack, but they hesitate to harm Yu, knowing that his soul is still alive. When Yu puts down his curse gear to leave himself out in the open, Yu eventually snaps out of it and prevents himself from killing Yu, thanks to Guden's words of encouragement. As the 3 students all pass the final test to be official members of the Moon Demon Company, Gurren tells them to focus on the future to protect others rather than the past, to seek revenge on others. Yu and Shio are introduced to meet Suba Sengu as the 5th member of the Shinoa squad. Guden dispatches them on their first mission together to Harajuku. On their way there, a 4 horsemen of John is spotted attacking a little girl in distress. Despite Mitsuba's warning that he is being lured into a trap, Yu ignores orders and rushes to rescue the little girl. While Shinoa, Yu, Shio, and Mitsuba are soon ambushed by 3 vampires, the 4 manage to destroy the horsemen, which forces the 3 vampires to fall back. Although Mitsuba scolds Yu for putting the whole squad in danger, she's later reminded by Shinoa of when she cost the life of a member of her former squad. During a mission, the little girl informs the Shinoa squad that the lair of the vampires is located at Omotesando Station. Shinoa squad enters Omotesando Station, populated by many orphan children. As they travel further, Yu defeats 2 vampires by himself. The 5 of them are equally ambushed by 8 vampires, which is more than what the little girl reported. Shinoa squad manages to exterminate the vampires and free the orphan children. In the aftermath, the little girl apologizes to Yu for her deceit. Mitsuba struggles to thank Yu for saving her life but ends up withdrawing the statement after Shio starts a truck by method of hot wiring. Shinoa squad proceeds to Shinjuku where they encounter a vampire noble Crowley Usford who easily overpowers them despite being significantly outnumbered. However, vampire nobles Chest, Bell, and Horn arrive and take Crowley back to the front lines. Despite now knowing what they'll be up against, Shinoa squad prepares to head towards Shinjuku. Shinoa squad arrives at Shinjuku to assist Nagai, corporal of the Japanese Imperial Demon Army, in repelling the offensives of the vampires who attack in helicopters equipped with missiles. Meanwhile, Giran spots Mika and Farid from a distance. Farid reminds Mika that he should embrace his new role as a vampire and drink human blood. A flashback is shown when Mika refused to drink Krill's blood, but eventually gave in to his craving. While Nagai drives Shinoa squad towards the western defensive barrier, Shinoa gives Yurachido, Yu, and Shio each a pack of curse stimulant pills to be used sparingly, which will temporarily enhance their power. Suddenly, a helicopter attacks them, which causes them to fall into an underground subway. As a result of the blast, the debris separates Yudo, Shinoa, and Nagai from Yu, Shio, and Mitsuba. Yu and Shinoa carry a wounded Nagai to the temporary shelter to be treated by the military paramedics before planning to meet up with Yu, Shio, and Mitsuba at the western defensive barrier. While the Moon Demon Company take down much of the vampiric army, Farid allows Mika to fight Giran. After being informed that Yu, Shio, and Mitsuba are being attacked by a group of vampires at the Central Park, Yu and Shinoa rush over there to assist them before they make their way to the western defensive barrier. Although Shigira, Yukimi, and Noritogoshi throw Mika off guard with their attacks, Farid prevents Giran from making the final blow and pushes him away. Mika stabs Giran before giving him the chance to fight back. As Shinoa squad arrives, Yu approaches Mika from behind and stabs him through the chest, in which both are surprised to see each other is still alive. After seeing that Yu hesitated to kill Mika, after recognizing his face, Farid agreed to help Mika escape with him. Crowley, Chess, and Horn, along with Lucas Welt and Rensim, arrive to take on the Moon Demon Company, while Farid lures Yu and Giran away from the rest. While Farid restrains Giran, Mika attempts to convince Yu to side with him, but Yu declines. After noticing how much Mika has changed, Yu loses control of the dreadful power within him. Upon seeing his friend suffering at the hands of the vampires, Crowley evades Yu due to being unable to withstand his attacks. Mika shields Shinoa from Yu, but Shinoa embraces Yu as a last resort, which reverts him back to normal before falling unconscious. The vampires soon find themselves surrounded by the Japanese Imperial Demon Army. Shinoa is granted access to see Giran in the underground laboratory. She confronts him about the cursed stimulant pills given to Yu, who has been in a comatose state for 5 days. Giran advises Shinoa to wait by Yu at his hospital bed, if she truly does care for him. Meanwhile, Mika contemplates his identity as a vampire and a human, while Lucas and Renee notice his past association with Yu. On the 7th day, Shinoa tells Yu that Mika retreated with the vampire nobles in response to an attack led by Kureto Hiragi and Shinya Hiragi of the Japanese Imperial Demon Army. Once the rest of his friends gather in the hospital room, Yu thanks them and apologizes for sleeping for so long. Both Yu and Mika make a silent vow that they will save each other. Giran writes a letter to an unknown recipient, and Farid gives research data to an unseen client. Shinoa Hirage spars with Giran. Chino's reminded that he killed her demon-possessed sister Mahiro Hiragi in order to claim his curse gear. Shinoa finds Yuragido Yakuya at the library, where she explains that Mika Yakuya was chosen by the vampire nobles to become a vampire. Giran declares himself as a superior rather than a friend to Yu, and Mitsuba Sangu receives a promotion despite seeing herself as a failure to Yu. Kureto Hiragi summons Yu to test his loyalty to the Japanese Imperial Demon Army due to the suspicion of being a spy. Kudito reveals you saw Tom and Shio Kimizuki being held captive and interrogates you, mentioning that his former family orphanage was being used for spellcraft experimentation by his vampire sect. After being released, Yu asks Giran to help him reclaim Mika from the vampire nobles. In Sanguinum, Farid Bathory halts a bloodthirsty Mika. When a boy named Dai offers his blood, Mika refuses despite being tempted by Farid. Mika is then invited by Farid to the upcoming Progeny Council meeting. After Yu successfully eliminates 4 horsemen of John with one attack, Yu confronts his curse gear named Asuramaru, managing to break free from Asuramaru's illusion of Mika and asking Asuramaru to lend him strength to save Mika as a gesture of friendship. Meanwhile, at the Progenitor Council meeting, Farid has Mika show footage of Yu briefly going berserk during the battle at Shinjuku, which enrages Krill Tepes, but Farid reminds her that she cannot kill him since he has secret information about her. Shio battles his curse gear named Kisakio, but he struggles to break free from Kisakiso's illusion of his sister Mirai Kimizuki. Shio breaks free by remembering how Yu strives to protect Mika like family despite not being related by blood. While Yu and Shio show off their new fighting techniques, Shinoa and Mitsuba later learn that the files containing on Yu and Shio have been erased. A letter is sent via messenger pigeon from Dai to Kyoretto through a Waisengu. Shinoa squad meets during breakfast, in which they discuss whether or not to follow Giran elsewhere. Kyoretto entrusts Giran to send Shinoa squad and the Moon Demon Company to wipe out 10 vampire nobles in Nagoya before the vampires bring their main army to Tokyo in 1 month. Shinoa squad eventually decides to follow Giran and make it their policy to protect their family. Meanwhile, Mika satisfies his craving for blood by forcing himself onto Krill. Once he calms down, she reveals her plans to him and gives him a secret task. Gooden, who is briefed by Shinoa about the progress of Yu and Shio in their training, tells Shinoa to make preparations for the mission. While Mika meets with the other vampires to head towards Nagoya, Kyoretto orders potentially lethal experimentation on an unknown female test subject in the underground laboratory. Shinoa squad travels to the Abina rest stop, dodging several 4 horsemen of John along the way. Because of this, Shinoa squad arrives late when Giran gives his speech in which Yu Ichido takes full blame for their tardiness. As punishment, Shinoa squad is lured into a fight against Giran, Mito, Jujo, and Shinya Hiragi. Despite carefully planning out a strategy, Shinoa squad is eventually yet handily defeated. When Makoto Narumi comments that Shinoa squad lacks teamwork and discipline, Giran assigns Shinoa squad to work with Narumi squad for the next mission. As a result, elsewhere, as Mika and Lucas Welk collect stray human children as gifts for the vampire nobles in Nagoya, Mika realizes that his thirst for human blood has increased even more. Mika withholds himself from attacking a girl for her blood, which Lucas finds strange. Narumi tells Yuji Shinoa, Shio, and Mitsuba that their next mission is to exterminate vampire noble Luca Wesker, while Shinya calms Yu down as they wait to snipe Liu Kao from a distance. While Lucal and his servant Esther Lee debate whether or not to obey Krill's orders, Liu Kao sacrifices Esther to act as a shield from Yu and Shinoa's attacks. As Shinoa squad and Narumi squad ambush Lucal, he's able to fend off some of the attacks. That is, until they alter their information and manage to severely injure him. When Yaoi Endo attempts to finish Lucal off, he takes her sword and commits suicide, refusing to die by a human. Meanwhile, Giran's squad defeats vampire noble Mel Stefano. A dying aide Kusanoki reports to Giran, revealing that 45 soldiers at Nagoya City Hall were defeated, in which 19 of them were killed and the remainder are held hostage. Kusanoki passes away shortly afterwards. At Nagoya City Hall, Crowley, Usford, Chess Bell, and Horn Scold discuss their next plan of action, suspecting that a traitorous vampire noble provided information to the humans. All of Shinoa squad, Nadumi squad, and Gooden squad regroup, but Iko Ehara lost 8 out of 14 members in her squad during her assigned mission. Giran leaves Iko behind to take the 3 squads to rescue hostages. At Nagoya City Hall, Mika, Lucas, and Rensim suddenly arrive into helicopters, but Iko orders her squad to commit suicide by swallowing their poisonous pills. Mika prevents Iko from doing the same, leaving her as the only survivor. Iko decides to trust Mika, discreetly telling him that Yu is headed towards Nagoya City Hall, while tricking Lucas and Renee into going to Higashiyama Park. After Mika kills Iko upon her request, he sets off to Nagoya City Hall, planning on intercepting Yu. The Moon Demon Company tries to figure out a way to handle the hostage situation and come up with a plan to attack Crowley, Chess, and Horn. Giran's squad is tasked to distract the vampires while Shinoa squad and Nura squad must focus on rescuing the hostages. Giran and Shinya jump straight to the office on the top floor to fight Crowley, but they are no match against him. Shinoa Squad launches their plan to assist Guren and Shinya when entering the building. When Guren and Shinya try to run away from Crowley in the hallway, they both wind up wounded and defenseless. However, Yu suddenly appears from under the floor to strike Crowley, yet Crowley immediately makes a counterattack. Chess and Horn defend Crowley when all of Shinoa Squad attempts to attack. Shinoa Squad retreats, with Shinya having to leave Guren behind. Guren Squad tries to rescue Guren from Crowley, Chess and Horn, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Seshiro Hiragi attempts to arrest Kyoredo for having a secret plan of his own, but Iwai eliminates 2 soldiers under Seshiro in retaliation. Yu disagrees with the orders to abandon Guren and carry on with the mission, looking back on how Guren treated him like family since he was younger. In defiance, Yu takes 2 extra curse stimulant pills, which causes blood to gush out of his mouth and eyes before he collapses. Kyoredo tells Aoi to inform the scientists to increase the dosage into the test subject since time is running out. Yu remains alive due to the power of angels in the form of a golden trumpet, but Asura Maru lures Yu away from the golden trumpet and gives him enough power to awaken. After reviving in front of his squad, Yu charges off and faces Crowley inside the auditorium in hopes of saving Guren. However, Yu's lust for more power encouraged Asura Maru to possess him. She arrives and uses Kisakyo to stop Yu, rendering him unconscious. As the Moon Demon Company retreats, Mika arrives in the scene, charging past the Moon Demon Company to rescue Yu. Since they see Yu's family just like Mika does, Shinoa Squad distracts the Moon Demon Company to allow Mika to flee with Yu in tow. The vampires then show up and kill Yaoi and Taro Kagayama before the rest of the Moon Demon Company escape to Nagoya Airport. Mika brings Yu to an abandoned store and struggles with his thirst for blood. Yu wakes up and recognizes Mika trying to hold back his craving. Then Yu tries to convince Mika to drink his blood to keep on living with him, even if that means to survive as a complete vampire. Even though Mika still believes that the humans are brainwashing Yu, he eventually agrees to trust Yu as well as Shinoa Squad. While Yu and Mika drive to Nagoya Airport to rendezvous with the remnants of the Moon Demon Company, Mika explains that both the vampires in the past and the humans in the present have been performing experiments. Nonetheless, Yu ensures Mika to trust Shinoa Squad just like family. The test subject that Kyoredo is conducting experiments on is revealed to be Mirai. At Nagoya Airport, a letter is sent to the Moon Demon Company informing them to stand by. Narumi eventually believes that the Moon Demon Company should abandon the mission and rescue Gooden instead, to which Shinya agrees. Crowley learns from Farid that Guren is a Numinity, a human halfway into becoming a demon, and Sato can fully possess his body. Crowley is told by Guren that the Moon Demon Company is currently at Nagoya Airport. As the helicopters finally arrive at Nagoya Airport, Kyoredo steps out and tells the Moon Demon Company to relax their weapons, but he soon skewers Shusako, Iwasaki, and Rikuno with chain spears protruding from a large canister. Yu and Mika arrive in time to assist in fending off the chain spears. The chaos climaxes into a 3-way battle among the Japanese Imperial Demon Army, the Moon Demon Company, Mi, and the vampires. When Yu encounters Guren, the latter suddenly swings his sword at the former. Mika blocks the strike made by Guren. After many soldiers from all 3 sides are sacrificed by the chain spears, Mirai emerges from inside the container as an angel. Mirai summons Abaddon, the Angel of Destruction of the 5th Trumpet, and Kyoredo succeeds in controlling it. As the chaos continues, Abaddon spits out a horde of the 4 Horsemen of John to attack everyone. When Mika becomes badly injured, Yu stabs himself in the chest to retrieve the golden trumpet within his subconsciousness. Yu awakens as the King of Salt of the Sakan Trumpet, using his newly found power to turn Abaddon into salt. Before Asoda Maru knocks Yu unconscious, Mika flees when Krull is intervened by Crowley and killed by Farid, who declares Krull to be a traitor and assumes command of the vampires. While Shinoa Squad, Mika and Narumi escape with Yu in tow, Shinoa officially resigns her squad from the Japanese Imperial Demon Army. 4 months later, the Japanese Imperial Demon Army takes over. Sanguine Wall, Farid, Crowley, Chess, Horn, Lucas, and Renee meet with vampire noble Les Karyu. Mika, Shinoa, Yushio meet Suba, and Narumi set out to rescue Mirai and Gooden and Sanguine. If you think this video helped you understand the crazy story of Seraph of the End, don't forget to leave a like, and also if you like, you can subscribe so you get notified when other amazing videos like this one come out. Till then, goodbye otakus and weebs.